Welcome to Really No Really. You haven't liked and subscribed yet? Really? Do it, or the puppets get angry. Now here's Jason Alexander and Peter Tilden.
So this episode was...
Explain
the generation of this episode is I'm seeing a New York Times article, and the headline is, "Got an idea for a toy? Toy makers want to hear from you." And I'm thinking of the...
And is that just restricted to the toy industry?
No, as a matter of fact...
Got an idea for a rocket science project? Rocket scientists would like to hear from you. How is this exclusive?
So all these industries are doing it, but I saw it in the toy industry, and I thought to myself, the Sebastian Maniscalco joke where he said he goes into the supermarket, and now you got to scan your own items. And he said it's like they all got together one night and said, you know what, you do it.
Yeah, right.
It's like the toy companies, I would think, and we have a specialist here who knows from the toy business, but I would think, like, if I called like a toy company in the 70s and said, hey, I got an idea for a game, they say, hey, kid.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Yeah,
we have professionals doing this. Now, I guess because you can crowdsource people's ideas, that it's easy to put it out there and say,
crowdsourcing?
Yeah, it's crowdsourcing
so
of ideas.
For me, because I'm being serious now, I know what like a Kickstarter is. That's crowdfunding.
Right.
Crowdsourcing is
ideas, finding a group of people who are fascinated by this kind of thing that can help you develop stuff, or you can actually test ideas out. Like, we're going to limited edition Frito-Lay, a Frito chip with licorice that somebody recommended. 20,000 more people responded. We like this idea. You put it out and you lose your shirt. But there you go. That's crowdsourcing. Thank you.
Really? No, really? Really? No, really? Really?
David here is somebody I knew
No, really?
from way back when I first got out here. David, I think, came on because of the skill set, and we'll do a little of that later on, where he has the Guinness World Book of Records ability to talk backwards, which is maddening. It's insane. But I met him because I think he came on the radio show when I launched, because he had just launched the Nerf football that had a tail, the Vortex that had the tail on it, which I think has sold more than just about any toy.
And I saw, was it John Elway? John Elway threw it like 7 football fields or something like that. There's one of the football guys.
And I think David realized...
Look at that. And I go, well, of course he can do it.
David had friends like you and I. He'd see them throw a football and go, these are inept morons.
Right, yeah.
So
I got to make a ball that even a guy like that could throw.
Exactly. And since I've seen David, he has either licensed or created over $1 billion in sales with the toys that he has done. David Fuhrer is here. I haven't seen you, David, in quite a while, but we met in, I think, 88 or 89.
You look exactly the same, Peter.
So do you, because your eyes are drying out. We got older and older enough, you need cataract surgery, obviously. But was that about the time that you came out with the football?
Football was 1992, so it would be about the right time.
Wow.
Exactly.
And how many of those suckers did you sell? You know?
Well, it's in its 30th year, and I think we're at something around 45 million of units of the product.
Do they do an account? Is it like the record business, other businesses, where you got to sue to get an audit that shows what they're really selling?
No, so they do a quarterly royalty report. So, you know, and I never know what's going to be in the envelope. And every quarter, I always think it's the last. But it's gone on for 30 years.
It's an amazing toy. So
was it Elway, by the way?
Elway was the spokesperson.
Yeah, okay.
And, I mean, at the very beginning, it was a rather simple product. And I showed it to 24 companies. Everybody rejected it. And then I was at a trade show in Japan, and I was sitting across the table from this gentleman named John Barber, who was president of a small toy company in Northern California. And John said, "Oh, you're an inventor?" He was a Scottish guy, and I do a poor accent. He said, "You have one product that you think is great, and that's the one I want to see." And I thought about it. I told him about this product that everyone had rejected. And he actually called me 2 days later and said, "Send me that product." And I overnighted it, and the next day he called me and he said, "We love this product, we want to do it." And they actually improved the product. They put it through wind tunnel tests at Stanford, and then they hired John Elway at the height of his career to promote the toy. And it became the best-selling toy football in the world.
But you know what's crazy about that is, not that this is going to be what the whole episode's about, but let's look at that toy specifically. So what I think has to happen, but I don't know in what order, is somebody has to look at a football and go, boy, most people can't throw that damn thing. Then I want to fix that problem. Then here's how you fix that problem. Then here's my first, I guess with glue, you stuck a tail on a small foot. I mean, can you walk us through, hey, you know, to I've got a thing I can show somebody. How did that
I mean, you identified it correctly as I couldn't throw a football. So I was, you mentioned before, an inept moron on the football field. I was that guy. So I was actually at the time working with a couple of other inventors, and we were trying to come up with aspirational sports toys. What are things that kids want to do that they can't ordinarily do, like hit a home run, dunk a basketball, throw a long bomb with a football, and we were working on ideas to try to accomplish those things. And one of them was the football. And it actually, it was solving an everyday problem with a basic play pattern, which is sort of behind a lot of the inventions. But in this case, I had a Nerf javelin in my office, which was a foam javelin. And I had a foam football. And one day we drilled a hole through this football. We stuck the javelin in it. We had a giant version of the Vortex football and started throwing it around. And
just saw that it increased the distance.
Yeah, I mean, it was aerodynamic. It straightened out automatically in the air. And no matter how poorly you threw it, it went into a perfect spiral. And so I, who couldn't throw a football, would suddenly heave this thing and it would go 3/4 of the way across a football field.
But this is like the movie business where you got to convince somebody. I mean, movies that don't get made that could have been huge hits. There are toys that don't get made that could be huge hits because the guys who are the gatekeepers just decide for some reason. Is there a method to the madness in the toy industry where the gatekeepers know what's doing, or there's a way to test stuff? Or is this, as I opened the show with, or is this crowdsourcing a gift now because you can get almost immediate response from people and ideas from people?
It's a little of both. You know, and the toy companies, they've become, most of the big ones have become very bureaucratic. And retail is very, very limited. So we have Walmart and Target and Amazon selling most products. So the bigger toy companies have become brand oriented. So for example, Mattel, you're going to have Barbie and Hot Wheels. Hasbro has G.I. Joe, Spin Master has a lot of brands. And so there's a lot less innovation, and unless, what they're looking for is products that fill out their brands. And a lot of the innovation that comes from the inventors often ends up at smaller, more entrepreneurial companies now.
Okay, wow, you just hit me with you got Amazon, Walmart, and maybe Target.
That's it.
What you got to do to jump through hoops to get in there is almost impossible. Are the mom and pop brick and mortar stores still around that you can have a regional breakthrough that breaks out and then grows?
They're out there, but they're limited now. There's fewer and fewer of those stores that are out there.
So you have to take anything you come up with now to those three places. That's it.
Well, I don't go directly to retail. So as an inventor, we typically go to the toy companies, and the big ones all have inventor liaison people, and they put out wish lists. So you have some parameters in which you might be working. So you know what they're looking for. And then, I like to collaborate with other people, and we try to generate ideas, and then we build a looks like, works like prototype. And these days you have to take it much farther than that. So, we do packaging, you try to create branding, and, try to make it as, like I like to say, as idiot-proof as possible.
That's the thing I was picking up what you said. They know the parameters they're looking for. And I go, that hits my business too in a way that always rankled me. So when I thought I had a good idea for a show, or Peter and I thought we had a good idea for a show, and we go to pitch, and a network would say, well, that's not what we do. And I go, what do you mean that's not what you do? All you want to do is make something that people are interested in and want to watch. What you're saying, we don't do comedies that have a house in them. It's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. So when, for instance, no toy company would have said to you, our parameters are, we're looking for something like a Beanie Baby, a little stuffed animal that does nothing. You can't play with it. It sits on the shelf, and any single one of them is worth $3,000. Do you have anything like that?
And then
no one's going to ever say that.
And I try to 100% right, and I always try to tune that out and try to just, like what I like to do is look at concepts that solve an everyday problem, or add an innovation to a classic play pattern. Right. And that's what we did with the football.
Okay, give some of your other examples of some of your other big things, because people will know. Aquadoodle?
Aquadoodle,
right?
Yeah. So Aquadoodle is a drawing activity, preschool drawing activity toy, and it uses an interesting technology, a hydrochromatic ink, which was a water-activated color change. And this was actually created by the Pilot Pen Company from Japan. And I had met the president of Pilot Pen, and he showed me this technology. He said, "Do you think this can be a toy?" And I said, "This is maybe the greatest thing I've ever seen." So basically what Aquadoodle is, it's a mat that's about the size of a small table. And the parent fills a pen with water. And when a small child, they screw the top on the pen, it has a moist tip. And when they write on this mat, it's like a colorful marker. So it was the first time that a preschool child could create on a large surface without making a mess, because after a few minutes, it dries and goes away. And so this was the concept that I collaborated with Pilot on. But I would say the brilliant part of this invention and the patented part of this invention was theirs. And so I was, my responsibility was to try to come up with a marketable idea
way to use it
with the product.
Yeah.
Well, what else? You had a couple other humongous ones that went gigantic.
I've had, about 300. Most recently, we had something called Twisty Pets, which is a bracelet that you can bend and twist like a balloon animal, and it turns it into a little pet. And that was the best-selling girls' collectible in the world until the pandemic hit.
Back to the crowdsourcing thing. Is that, I mean, I noticed, like Jason and I saw Starbucks is using it, IKEA, Disney, Nestle, but toy companies seem to be doing it more than the others. Because I guess people have certain ideas on what they think a good toy will be. Do they know does the average person know what a good toy will be, or doesn't have a clue?
No, I think the average person does. And I think the collective, brains of everybody is better than just one. But I mean, I've always heard great ideas over the years from moms and dads, like of new parents. So because parents are always recognizing problems in the house and often have solutions. So I think it's I don't know, the ideas are only as good as their execution. So I think people can come up with good ideas, but the idea to take them all the way through to production and to understand all the business aspects of the toy industry, that's a little more difficult.
Is there a trend today that's moving into a new area that you see, like all of a sudden we're into STEM, which is like a lot of people want, I read somewhere that people under 40 are looking for, are looking for stuff that's reclaimable and that's environmental and et cetera. But they're also looking at STEM stuff, which is has math, which has English, which it's learning. The game is for younger kids, and we want them to learn stuff from the game, not just play. Is that huge still?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, educational products, and also the toy industry, there's been a contraction of age. So because of video games and so on, the toy industry is mostly a preschool business now. So when we think about products, like I have to try to think like anything that somebody wants to play with from a very young age to young adulthood. I have to sort of expand my thinking about what is a toy. Because most of the traditional toys are preschool, and then kids shift the dollars that are being spent in the toy industry are moving into electronics.
Really?
That's what I was going to ask. It would seem to me that not only in the toy industry, but in the game industry, that electronic or computer-based gaming has usurped what I thought of as traditional gaming when I was a kid, or even when I go to a friend's party and they go, "We're going to have a game night." We're not turning to electronic stuff, but it seems like it has usurped.
Well,
although games have made a huge comeback, games and puzzles since the pandemic.
Really?
And also there's been a lot more, you're talking about crowdsourcing, but you also, crowdfunding. So there's an opportunity now for game inventors to launch things on Kickstarter and these other platforms. And then the world tells you whether the product's going to work or not.
It's funny because David Guggenheim is one of our producers and always adds to the show at the end. When we were prepping for this one young girl crowd-funded almost $1 million for a Dungeons and Dragons type game, and it's a pamphlet. I mean, it has the world in there, but it's a pamphlet. And I go, so what'd she do with the other $973,000? How does a booklet like that, or how does a game that you're creating that is like a Dungeons and Dragons type game, how's that $1 million?
She must have made an amazing video that explained the product. Because most of them don't succeed, but when they do, they can be wildly successful. And that's also when the bigger toy companies will come in often and license the product from that inventor.
But boy, I'm such a Luddite that stuff that I'm sure is obvious eludes me. What is the incentive for me other than maybe bragging rights? If I crowdsource something, they get nothing, right? I mean, if I take that,
if you crowdsource the idea, you mean take somebody's idea?
yeah.
Don't you have to give somebody something at some point?
Sometimes it's just getting the product itself or some kind of gift, yeah.
But that,
and it is risky for inventors too, because they're exposing their idea, and often they don't really have intellectual property that will protect them.
So kids and preschool is it, and anything over that is really the Dungeons and Dragons and role-playing games and internet stuff.
Yeah, or sports innovations or bracelets. That's why we did Twisty Pets, for example. I had 2
How did you come up with Twisty Pets?
Is actually the original idea came from an inventor that I work with named Richard Kimbrough, and he did a pencil sketch of the idea, and I looked at it and I said, this is a great idea if we can build it. So that idea came from him, and then what I did is I collaborated with him. We built prototypes and came up with a marketing program, a name, and we did a beautiful package, and we went and presented it to a company named Spin Master. And the funny thing is, they rejected it, and I knew one of the senior executives there, and I asked if I could present it to retailers at their toy industry function where they were presenting their new products. And he said, if we have time at the end of our meeting, and I'll let you do it. And I stood in the back of the room with a sheet over a small table, and if anybody had time, a buyer, they would come over and I would do the pitch. And one by one, these buyers liked the product, and then they give us a trial. A lot of the retailers will do trials now. They'll do a small order, and they'll see if it sells through before they place the next order. And then when they order, they'll space out those shipments. So if the product stops selling, they'll cancel the future shipments.
Do you do commercial? It used to be with 3 networks. You do commercials, and everybody sees it Saturday morning.
Yeah,
cartoons.
no, it's all
Where do you
online
promote now?
Well, it's mostly YouTube.
So it's all YouTube.
yeah.
Is it influencers?
A lot of influencer marketing in the toy industry.
So you got to find a 7-year-old you can afford.
Yes.
I mean, the unboxing kid's making like $200 million a year. He won't even come to the phone for less than $30 million.
It's much harder to reach kids now. Yeah.
Yeah, unreal. So your first game. Talk about the first game, because that's how.
It was the backwards game.
Yeah, explain your skill in the game, because it's so bizarre.
So growing up, I had this unusual ability that, I used to get yelled at by my parents to shut up, and then I was able to go on television, and then they were very proud of the fact that I talked backwards.
When's the first time? When's the first time? Do you remember your first backward phrase?
Probably mom and dad. No.
Oh, see, because you see what it is? It's a palindrome.
Yeah.
It's the same both ways.
You got it.
Did you see what he did?
Palindrome. He mentions
Why the reaction
palindromes.
was, whoa, which is slow backward.
Right.
Okay.
I didn't think you got
Another
it.
palindrome is star comedy by Democrats.
Oh my God.
If you wrote that down, it's exactly the same backwards and forward.
Okay.
I would do this in school. I would call all my friends by their names backwards. And then, nobody paid much attention. I went off to summer camp. And when I was 10 years old at Camp Eagle Cove in upstate New York, they
Or
put
as
me
you
on
would call it, camp?
Elgay Evoc. I got on the stage at the Camp Talent Show, and I sang the Star Spangled Banner backwards, and then I took words from the audience, and I from that day forward I was camp famous.
And then the game.
The guy
and then the game.
Camp famous.
So I took that same little act, and then I would do it at school, and then in college I would perform at Boston University, where Jason also went, and
Want to hear the song?
and a classmate of mine started working for the David Letterman show after we graduated, and I got a call one day, would I like to be on the David Letterman show? And so I
Superhuman tricks
went to,
kind of thing? Yeah.
no, it was actually as a regular guest spot.
Oh, really?
And so the funny thing is I broke the record of being bumped more than any guest ever on the David Letterman show. They flew me to New York 6 times. I was going to be the last guest, and they ran out of time. Each time they put me in a hotel, and I was making a living after I graduated college by being bumped off the Letterman show, because they pay it was like $500, something like that, whatever the union scale.
You finally got on.
So I got on, and then he had me on a couple more times as the guy who sings backwards. And then I went on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, which was a great experience. And I started thinking, how can I commercialize this idea? And I met a game inventor in New York, a guy named Mark Ducati, who was working with my brother. My brother was working in the toy industry. And he suggested, let's create a game around talking backwards. And I said, great idea. And we did. And then Random House licensed this game for me, and they sent me on a promotional tour. It was a backwards talking game where players would hear a word backwards with a clue, and then they had to shout out the answer forward. So I'll test you out. It's a 6-letter fruit that begins with B, ananab.
Banana.
You know what? Do me one favor, though, while we're Laurie. Do me a favor, Laurie. Can you hear me? Will you bring in, it's right next to you, is how Alex's game with the mouthpiece, because I want to show it to David. Because Howie Mandel's son did this as a joke, and then it became a game that sold a blank load of stuff. It reminds me of this, and it makes me laugh big time. So here you go. So Howie's son used to put in, when he was with his friends, thank you, Laurie. Producer Laurie, let's hear it for Producer Laurie.
Yeah, whatever it is, she's against it.
So he would put in I think if Alex is here, he would put in one of those mouthpiece, mouth guard, and then say stuff, and people had to guess what it is. And somebody said, I bet we can market this as a toy. Mouth guard challenge.
Oh, that's so funny.
Is that the best?
That's great.
From that,
it's
and
a great
sold,
picture.
Alex, I forget how, it sold pretty well for a while. But again, a thing that's organic.
You know, that's a great example of a package. You know, with a game, when you go into a retail store, often you just see a side panel, but when you see a picture like that, boom, the consumer gets it instantly.
You get it. You get the whole thing.
And you
right
have to do that today, especially in games, because the game aisle has, hundreds of products.
By the way, the key for me is including 5 mouth guards.
Yeah.
Alex,
your friends.
So Alex, come in. Here's Alex, ladies and gentlemen. Let's do this.
Alex.
This is a very special room.
So talk about, how did this happen?
My friends and I just we found those, like, they're actually called cheek retractors, and then we were like, well, if we're gonna make videos of it, people aren't gonna type in cheek retractors, so we called it the mouth guard challenge, and then it just started going viral on YouTube. And I started getting calls.
Ellen started doing it on her show.
So Ellen started doing it and then wanted my dad to do it, and it turns out that was actually a competitor stole the idea. That competitor would be Hasbro.
Yes, I was going to say, I've seen Hasbro's
they
concept.
did one called, I won't even say their name of what they called it.
Yes, don't promote that.
But then so another company approached and was like, hey, let's actually get this to market even though they're doing it. You can call it this. This is what you called online. We'll say it's the original one and everything like that. But, that happens.
It did well, right?
It still did well and sold worldwide. So
How many years is this?
it was selling for 4 or 5 years, I think so.
Wow.
So did you manufacture this yourself?
No, I partnered with this company. They make a whole bunch. It's called Identity Games is who I partnered with, but they make a ton of different types of games and everything, and they were great.
It's great, and I love the fact that you did it. So many people have ideas, but that don't execute.
Alex does things
right?
every day, most of which we can't say because it involves law enforcement. But this is, and Alex, 5 mouthpieces because you don't want to share mouthpieces with other people. But
and
what
a bottle of
I love
alcohol
the
and
picture.
every, it's fantastic.
Right into the. Wow. Alex has anything else you can stick in your mouth that you want to make a game out of? So David,
The follow-up S sounds.
you're still today. There's a comedy club in LA called the Laugh Factory, which has been around. I'm guessing is it 50
45 years, 1979.
So it's an iconic place. You just became the president. Congratulations! And
Thank
I think
you
I
very
wrote
much.
you when I saw that. But are you still doing the game thing in as big a way as you were before?
I'm moving. I have a new game that's out that's called Real Big Catch. It's a preschool fishing game that has fish that expand. They all look the same on the table, and when a child catches it and they lift it, it accordions out, and you don't know how big your fish is. So that was my last.
How
game.
do you know? How did you know, for instance, that and I'm not meaning this in a mean way, that anybody would give a crap that a kid would go and not? How did you know organically?
Well, fishing games have always been one of the most popular categories for young children, and I had this idea years ago. I saw an expanding cup when I was on a trip in Europe, a drinking cup that you could put in your pocket and it pops open. And I was thinking, wow, that would be great as a fish. I don't know why, but that was what I was playing with this idea. But the idea was, you talked about educational products earlier. I was trying to come up with concepts that would teach kids how to learn by doing things that are fun. In this case, it's their first opportunity to measure things. And so when these fish expand, at the end of the game, they lay them out against a long ruler. And it's early math skills, basically. And so
I
a company
love it.
called Educational Insights is
And
selling
this is
it
out
now.
already?
It's out, and actually on TikTok, there's videos that are going viral with more than 40 million hits because it's a very visually stimulating
And
product.
was
Real
it
big catch.
important to make the fish look a certain way too?
You know, they just, in this case, they look very cute, but when they expand out through the accordion, they wiggle kind of like a real fish. So when a child catches it, it has a motion like a real fish.
And how big is the biggest fish?
The biggest fish is 12 inches.
Wow.
So, and then, but they all look the same. And when you catch them, you don't know if you're getting a 1-inch fish or a 12-inch fish.
Sure.
Well,
True in life. How true.
How true. That's true.
Watch yourself, because I know.
Yes.
I just know.
You don't know anything. You don't know me.
I know where we.
You don't know me.
I've watched you veer. There's veering.
I've got nothing else to contribute.
I
Other
can
than
see it in your eyes.
much like in life.
I can see
That's
it in
all
your
I
eyes,
wanted to
and
say.
I can see the mean.
Don't assume. You make an ass out of you and me.
Yeah. Oh, thanks for that, teacher. Yeah. So,
But yes, I'm sorry.
yes. No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, but now I met Jamie Masada, who is the founder of the Laugh Factory, and Jamie and I used to hike together. And just like in the toy industry, I kept saying to Jamie, you have this incredible brand, this 45-year heritage of the Laugh Factory, and relationships with all the top comedians in the world. I think there's a lot more we can do with the brand. So I started pitching him some game ideas and toy ideas with that were all just funny products. And
use comedians to sell it?
And that was the original idea. And that's how Jamie and I started talking a lot about the business. And then eventually he asked me to join, which I did. And I'm now the president of the Laugh Factory. And so we're taking this brand of the Laugh Factory and we're expanding it into entertainment. We're doing television, feature films, podcasts.
Good for
you name
man.
it.
Wow.
So I'm trying to create an ecosystem for comedians so that they don't just come into a club and do their 15-minute set and take their paycheck and go home, but that we have an entire system of opportunity within the Laugh Factory for people
That's a
to.
great way
And
to
is
put
the
it.
factory itself, the brick and mortar factory, it's purely a Los Angeles?
No, 6 of them.
There's 6 of them.
6 of them.
So New York, LA.
No, not in New York. So we have one in Chicago, which
Yeah.
is co-owned by Tim Allen, and then we have the rest here on the West Coast.
Wow.
So and we're actually looking at a New York location now.
Well, I guess that'll answer my question, because I was going to ask. So many live venues are still not bouncing back completely from COVID days.
Yeah.
Are comedy clubs sort of doing
Yeah,
okay?
I think comedy's really hot right now.
Yeah.
And people, there's so much, as we all know, everybody is under a lot of stress and pressure, and the world is a tough place now. And so our mission, what I talk to Jamie about every day is we want to bring more joy and laughter to the world. And I find that people want to go to comedy clubs. Like, we're packed, our competitors down the street are packed.
It's a
And,
good thing. The other thing is, with comedy clubs, Jay, you can use it as a farm team. You can take young comedians, put them on the spot, and you put them on a tour so they can make a living.
Sure.
You send them to 30 places,
Right.
and as they get better, you move them up in the hierarchy, and then
that was
Yeah.
the Motown model, by the way.
Yeah.
that was the most.
We do an open mic every Tuesday night at
There you go.
5:30. So
Are you doing play baseball card type things for the comedians? Playing cards?
no, but it's a good idea. It's funny that you mentioned that, because every single day when I have friends come or I talk to people that were at the club, they always say to me, I saw this comic last night and they were tall and they had red hair, whatever, and they never remembered the names
Usually,
unless
like
it was
the
a
Bert
star.
Kreischer rookie card is
Yeah.
worth $10,000 now. You know what I'm saying?
I was thinking we should do,
should make a
cards when
top
people
star.
go out of who they saw.
We'll introduce you to the king of what's his name? What was the guy's name? The king of
Collectibles.
Collectibles. King of
Yes,
collectibles.
I heard your
He's been
episode
He's
on that. It was a
fascinating,
great
but yes,
episode.
you should do the cards.
I've come to realize now, you and I are never going to make a penny, because you're just,
No.
oh, yeah, have this. Take the bell, why don't you?
I threw out 2 ideas today outside of here that you thought were money makers too.
I know.
can never. I know.
I know.
What do you want from me?
Yeah.
Do me a favor. Let's do this. I got some phrases.
Okay.
See how they sound backwards. Okay.
Absolutely.
These are actually phrases you may know from a TV show that was somewhat popular.
Okay.
You know what? What you want to do them since they're George Costanza lines? You want to do?
You can't afford me.
You can't do these as George, because then it's
So do I have to talk like I'm Jerry?
It would be very,
okay. All right.
it's not that they would come after
Here
me.
we go.
but-
What does this sound like? You're giving the "it's not you, it's me" routine.
Eroi gniveg stitam si uoi in a 2R. In a 2R was routine if you're trying to follow along. ENITUOR.
When you do this,
Yeah.
are you seeing it backwards? How
Yeah,
is it
so I'm
going?
seeing it very quickly, exactly the way that it's spelled backwards. I'm not reversing sounds.
Right.
So
But when you're seeing it in your head, are you seeing it forward but saying it backwards? Is that what?
yeah, I'm kind of, it's like if I was writing on an invisible blackboard. Like as I'm hearing it, it's kind of a combination of a hearing and a visual thing. It's hard for me to explain, but it's instant. It's almost like translating another language.
Does it become any other? So the thing that makes your brain able to do that, does it have another wrinkle of some kind? Does it
I'm still trying to figure it out.
make you an abstract thinker?
Yeah.
Does it make you a,
No, I always think it's a completely useless ability. But maybe, I visualize things very well. I'm not very talented as it comes to drawing or painting or anything, but I can kind of see what I want.
Dude,
and that's
the
why
toy, the
I think
fish.
it's helped me a lot in my business.
Right.
But what I do is I surround myself with people that are smarter and more talented than me. And then I tell them, oh, yeah, this is what I want. So with products, I think that it might be connected. I don't know. But I'm always noticing words. I love word games.
Yeah.
I was just driving here and I passed a street called Moore Park and I instantly said, oh, that's crap room.
All right, ready for this?
Yep.
It's not a lie if you believe it.
Stitana il fioi evelib m.
Here's the
I
other
can now,
thing
if
I
you
like.
want me to go back to show that I'm actually doing it, it's is sti, S-T-I, not was ton, a lie was eel being lie. If I believe it, what was it?
It's not a lie if you believe it.
If you, phi is if, you is oi, and believe was avileb, and it was t.
Thanks for coming in. We're out of time.
Sknat raf gnimok nu. No, I'm saying it. So thanks for coming in as Sknat raf gnimok ni. We're out of time as eru tuo fo emit.
You are so easily amused. You know that?
Because it's insane that David.
Of
Here's
course
David,
it is.
a titan of industry, $1 billion worth of toys. He's running
Yeah.
the Laugh Factory now. But
Yeah.
we have men going, Iraq not to button yet.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like I won the Pulitzer Prize and I can do that with
How
my
would you say
thumb
I
and
won
my-
the Pulitzer Prize?
I know at Restilup Eserp. Eserp is prize.
How do you think you'd pronounce it, Peter? You
It's
idiot.
just the way
You don't
I
know that?
thought. Oh, okay.
I can do George Carlin's 7 dirty words you can't say
ahead,
on
go for it.
podcasts. Tisip kasaftanak rekufratam rekuskasak instead. Now they're in comedy, why
All right,
not?
here we go. Thanks for listening
Sknat rafkaninetzel
to another episode of
at ratona ipasiti fo
Really No Really.
Yiliar on Yiliar.
You know what? We should have called it Yiliar on
I think we
Yiliar.
are going to be calling it Ilyar and Ilyar. Well, thank you, David, for coming in.
David Fuhrer.
Thank you.
Go to Mr.
God
Guggenheim. You can sit here
bless-
while Guggenheim
yes.
comes on. Yeah.
Wait, I got to put my ears in now to hear David Guggenheim. One
Thank
second. One
Oh, my
second.
God. Dave,
David, whatever you tell us, say it backwards.
can he hear? He can't hear. Oh, there are phones right there.
There are earphones if you'd like to listen in.
I
David.
think they're working. Yeah, they probably are. Yes. You can hear? Yeah, okay. Mr. Guggenheim? Mr. Guggenheim? Guggenheim, what do you think?
Hello.
Where
Wow.
are we? Where are we?
Because we all know, like Barbie, right?
Yeah.
Is probably the most wide-selling toy product of all time. But I did have a quiz for you today
Okay.
to test your toy knowledge.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
All right, so
Yeah.
here you go. I got some different things. All right. Here is name one of the most popular toys of all time, released in 1980, that sold 4.5 million units of this puzzle toy that year.
Rubik's Cube.
Yes,
Well,
that was.
I didn't know it was a buzz-in show. I was waiting. You know, when you play Jeopardy, if you buzz in before Trebek finishes the question, you're locked out. Did you know that? Did you know that, Mr. Game?
Yeah.
May I
Yeah.
say something?
Yeah.
Alex Trebek is dead. Okay.
Oh,
We're
nice.
moving on.
Very nice.
No, this is not
Oh,
Jeopardy.
very
This is
nice.
not. I loved Alex Trebek.
Oh,
this
sure.
is not. This is
Oh, no,
not,
you're a Ken
you can
Jennings
never-
person?
You can.
Mayan Bialik? What are you? Are you Team Malik or Team Ken?
Are you
what are
saying?
you?
Wait. Neck. Send it, guys.
Don't start with me.
By the way, Rubik's is actually in its 50th.
Look, wait. Go ahead, David. What?
I was going to say Rubik's is actually in its 50th year.
Wow.
Yeah, look at that.
All right, David. Go ahead.
All right. Well, Jason, push
Yes.
that bell
All right,
in the
okay.
middle there, so it's fair. All right. Here comes another one. What children's plush toy was released in July 1996
Cabbage Patch Doll.
to become... So
Tickle
see
me
now,
Elmo. Tickle me Elmo.
Peter lost and correct. Tickle me Elmo.
Ah,
My second,
Tickle Me Elmo.
yes.
I was going to say, first came into Tyco Toys as a Tickle Me Monkey.
oh,
And there was an executive there named Stan Clutton who had the idea, well, why don't we put it with Sesame Street and make Elmo?
good
the
job,
central
Stan.
character.
Except it didn't come out that light. It came out, this is how it went. Tickle me monkey. What kind of an idiot would put out a thing called Tickle me monkey? Tickle me Elmo, I'll back.
Did Stan, now when you work for a toy company like that and you're Stan and you come up with that, do you get bonus or is it you created it while you work for the company so you don't
Yeah,
get...
you work for the company.
It's
You're
your salary.
Work
Okay.
for hire salary.
Yeah,
So every time one of those sells, he goes, damn son. of a-"
Yeah, son of a bitch. I had to open my
Could be
mouth.
tickling a monkey
I
right
could
now.
have
If it
walked
wasn't
out of
for-
here with my...
Tickle Big Bird. Could have been Tickle Big Bird. Nobody would have
Right.
bought it.
Yeah.
All right, David.
You had to master the tickle technology.
Exactly.
All right, now they're getting harder. They're
Okay.
getting harder. What was Nintendo's first breakout toy?
Nintendo's first
Yeah.
breakout toy.
Yeah.
Would that be the Game Boy electronic?
Pong? Pong?
No.
No.
I don't say,
no,
okay,
no.
don't put judgment on the answer. I'm taking a shot here, you know?
I have no idea.
You know, David?
I'm trying to think what the first breakout toy. I just remember the original box that they had, and there was a baseball game.
It's not. The Tamagotchi would have come way later, I would imagine.
No, it's not electronic. It's the Ultra Hand.
Sorry now.
The Ultra Hand. 1966.
Are we allowed to talk about that on a family show, or is that?
How dare you? How dare
The
you?
Ultra Hand, by the way, is in jail. It'll be out next year. First year for good behavior.
What was the Ultra? I don't know the Ultra Hand. What is it?
It was an extendable contraption designed to pick up things from a distance. It's basically what they give the old people.
I was going to
now
say,
because they
don't
can't
senior
bend over.
citizens use that to get the mail and toilet
Right.
paper from a high shelf?
Right.
That's me
using-
pretending to be Reed Richards from the Fantastic Four. Oh, I can get the cup without getting out of my chair.
I can use that at buffets, you know, when you reach over something.
You betcha.
I dropped my toast. Where's the extender arm? All right.
Right.
What was their next
Okay.
breakout? The long shoehorn. Very good. Okay.
That's the companion piece. Now what would you pay? All right.
This one is our final question.
Yes.
It's A, B, C, or D. Okay.
Yes.
So, what was the most popular toy from last year, from 2023, according to the Toy Zone?
Mm-hmm.
A, Barbie. B, Lego. C, PS5. Or D, Ludo.
The hell was Ludo? I know Cluedo. I don't know Ludo.
Give him again one more time.
Barbie.
A, Barbie, Barbenheimer. B, Lego. C, PS5,
That would be PlayStation 5.
Don't be
console.
condescending.
And D, Ludo.
I think it's Lego, but I think I read that somewhere. I think, yeah.
I think it's Lego too. Ludo seems like it's a trick question, so maybe it's whatever Ludo is, but I'm sure that it's, I believe it's Lego.
Guggenheim?
It was, according to, and I don't want to go against our guest, but according to the Toy Zone, it was Ludo
Gee.
as a worldwide bestseller. It's a board game, a very, very simple board game.
There
And
you go.
apparently it did very well in places that are not necessarily here.
I just got to bring this up before we go because it's crack chasing me up. The deadliest toys ever made were lawn darts,
Lawn darts.
creepy claws, a slip and slide, which clackers, which could kill you. Water-
Clackers. I had a terrible, tragic clacker accident.
Did you hit you
Yeah.
in the face or whatever?
Oh, I almost took out an eye. I mean,
With clackers,
yeah,
it was
clackers
two balls
were-
of clack.
yeah.
But the best ones, and it just made me laugh, there was a vacuum form where you actually put a hot, it's a hot plate. You give a kid a hot plate, put plastic on. But the Gilbert, you never heard of this, I bet. The Gilbert glass blowing set in the 1950s was Mr. Gilbert came up with it, whose other famous story, other than the Gilbert glass blowing set, was the Atomic Energy Lab, where you actually had a briefcase type thing which was only available for 1 year. It was a radioactive playset with a Geiger counter and pieces of radioactive uranium.
And on the package it said safe for 8 out of 10 children.
Yeah, right.
Is that the best? He gave out uranium, and he also came up with the Erector set, Mr. Gilbert. But the two.
I thought
terrible.
uranium was such a hard, terribly difficult thing to get. He's giving it away in
It's
Cracker
Very
Jack
small
boxes.
amounts. Very
Do you
small
Do you
amounts.
remember our
got-
creepy crawlers? You know,
Yes.
when you would just burn
Creepy
yourself by
crawlers.
touching it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. By the way,
yeah.
this had 3 types of uranium ore in
Yeah,
each
3
kit.
different types.
3 different types.
Yeah.
So when you went to kiss your kid good night, and you say, turn off the nightlight, and you said, that's not the
that
nightlight.
quickly became the Easy Bake Oven.
There you go. But you could see your kid all night long because he's glowing as he goes to the bathroom.
Right.
Guggenheim, thank you. David.
It's good for Halloween.
David,
It's good for
beautiful.
Halloween.
Thank you very much for coming in. Good luck with the Laugh Factory.
Thank you.
The Laugh Factory, your next great game or toy. What he's always into 9 million things. This guy.
Go. We'll see you next time, potentially, maybe, just maybe.